that's about to come. So the third factor, which is also very important to have generated the causes, for this precious human life, in addition to the moral conduct, in addition to the generosity of spirit and so forth, in addition to that, there is the aspiration, the strong aspiration and prayers to have this kind of a life, to have a human life with these, the leisure to practice and the positive conditions, internal and external conditions, like, having intelligence, having, the wish to practice, and having the external conditions such as people helping us, there being centers available where we can practice, teachers, so on and so forth. We have all of these remarkable conditions assembled, without which we couldn't practice. We couldn't investigate the mind, and we would get caught up in just the externalities of environment, economy, what other people are saying and doing. That would be determining our life, our state of mind. Whereas, having been introduced to the teachings, we know that the deeper causes of happiness and suffering lie in our own mind, and that through the mind training, which is what Dharma is about, we can achieve the exalted state even of a Buddha, quite apart from the state of freedom or the temporary states of happiness, which we could generate through practicing, 10 wholesome actions. So all of this is possible with our human existence. So we should think about this, especially in the context of the inevitability of death and the uncertainty of the time of death. We should see how this opportunity we have is so precious, but also fleeting and impermanent. So impermanent, cannot be, relied upon for forever, at least not with this body, not in this life. So please contemplate this, and all of it also within the context of a heart of weariness with samsara, and sadness connected with compassion at the state of the living beings who are suffering so much. So please spend some time on the motivation. It's so important. So think this is bottomless pit almost, or ocean of cyclic existence. In order to go beyond this, traverse this with this great ship of a human life, human body, to hasten that process, to make it stable and strong. We're going to investigate together the great work of Shantideva, specifically his 5th chapter on guarding alertness. And hopefully through investigating this and discussing and meditating and so forth, we get closer to, well, we can create very positive imprints in our mind, which help us to progress on the spiritual path. It's all using very dualistic kind of language, but what to do is we have to use words. But may this be beneficial for ourselves and others. And while I remember, it will be, of course, mentioned and posted, but in November, one of the teachers who teaches at Tosamling Nunnery will be staying at Tushita Delhi. Venerable Jamyang will be here from the 2nd of November for about 3 weeks almost. And we've asked her, and she's accepted, to give teachings in the evenings on Shantideva's 6th and 7th chapters, the patience chapter and the enthusiasm chapter, very important chapters. And because I'll be in Bodh Gaya most of that time. So it'll be wonderful. She will be here to carry on this text with people who are interested. So for your information. So maybe before we start the text itself, we can engage in some meditation, quiet meditation. And so we have the 3 people here at Tushita, and 7 of you, 6 of you online. So all of us together, we can practice the basic awareness, stabilizing practice, because without that, the mind is really very jittery and restless and keeps on moving around, as does our body. So let's, for the next 6-7 minutes, keep our body still, upright, relaxed, but also with the relaxation, a sense of being very alert, awake. So that's the balance we have here. We are attempting real relaxed, but also very attentive and alert. And of course, those two can go together very well. In fact, when we are not relaxed, when we are stressed, the quality of attention is very brittle and stressed and kind of tiring. But if we are relaxed, the attention can be much more natural, peaceful, and we can sustain it for longer. So stillness, relaxation, attentiveness, vigilance, all together. As we sit quietly and observe the sensations of the breath as we breathe in and out, and as we recognize distractions, especially thoughts, and let them go and come back to the breath. All of it in a kind of a seamless, relaxed, but precise manner, without tension. So, hearty welcome to everyone, those online and those here at Tushita. Good to see you again. Have you been before?
No.
First time. You, of course, I know. You haven't been for a while.
Yeah. I'm quite busy. I went to home.
Take. So we're looking at this. Thank you. You're bringing the text, Sagar
Yes.
Bhai. Thank you. We're looking at this great text of Mahayana Buddhism. Are you familiar with Buddhism at all?
Not as such, but I have attended Vipassana.
Okay, good. So Vipassana is excellent. It's a basic training in awareness and, as you know, impermanence, and several, insights I'm sure come while one is doing that. But here we're looking at a text which is emphasizing not so much, well, not only how we can liberate ourselves, which is very important, but how we can actually help others get liberated, benefit others as much as possible in recognizing that, however important it is to help ourselves, we are just one person and others are countless, So, and we depend on others for everything pretty much, if we think about it. So to neglect other people and only work for ourselves in terms of our own, awakening and so forth, that is, that is limited. So we're on, in this version, which you have, we're on page 43, which is chapter 5, guarding alertness. Some people have the text online. And we've been looking at these verses slowly and carefully, and then interspersing it with other comments and our discussions. And I don't want to go through this in a hurry. And also, as I mentioned, this other teacher will be teaching the next chapter and chapter 7 also in November. But we can slowly go on with chapter 5. And if we get on to chapter 6, that's also okay. It's good to hear these teachings again and again and again, because it's so important. We could argue it's as important as brushing our teeth every day. Of course, we need teeth to eat our food, but we need these teachings to keep our mind on the right track, you could say. So just because we hear a teaching today doesn't mean we neglect hearing the same teaching very soon, later, It's very important because these teachings are also a little bit unusual, some of them. So first time around, we maybe don't take it that seriously, or it doesn't really, we think it's maybe too difficult, or whatever. To hear it again and again is useful. It permeates deeper and deeper maybe into our mind. Just like gentle rain, if you have, sometimes you have half a minute of rain comes, and certain kinds of weather, and it touches the ground, but it doesn't go very deep, right? And it doesn't really nourish the seeds which are in the soil. So for that, you need constant, a bit more constant or rain, or more and more. Again and again, you need showers of rain to make the soil moist and productive. So in the same way, we need to listen to things again and again. We shouldn't think, oh, I heard this before, so therefore I know it. We shouldn't think like that. It may work in other subjects. It may work in mathematics or computer science. I'm not sure. Even there, I'm sure you have to look at things again and again before they really make sense, go deep. So here, Shantideva in this chapter, and Shantideva was a very great 8th century Pandit, Buddhist scholar, Pandit. Bodhisattva, we say. Bodhisattva is someone who has this very extraordinary mind, imbued with great compassion, wishing others to be free of suffering. And not only that, but this person, these kind of people, bodhisattvas, they are working constantly for the benefit of others. They're not just thinking about it, they're actually engaging in actions to benefit others. And his story is interesting because initially one would think he wasn't doing that. And in fact, where he was at Nalanda University in the 8th century, his fellow students were very, very fed up with him. They didn't appreciate him at all. The reason being that during the daytime, all they could see him doing was sleeping and getting up to eat and going to the toilet. So they had a nickname for him, which meant someone who eats, sleeps, and goes to the toilet. That's all they could see him do. Of course, they didn't realize that this guy stays awake all night, you see, doing his practices and prayers and meditation and so forth, because that was the quietest time of day and he had serious practice to do. He didn't actually need to do all the studying that the monks were doing in the daytime. He'd gone past that stage. He did his practice at night, but they couldn't see this. So they decided to humiliate him, That's what they tried to do by asking him to teach, in a very sarcastic way, saying, please, would you teach something, and he agreed, of course, and they were very happy, thinking they'd now be able to expose him as a fraud who shouldn't be at Nalanda University, this great university, shouldn't have such hopeless students who are sleeping and eating and just going to the toilet, not doing anything else. So they arranged for him to teach, and when he taught this text, this amazing text, which became a great classic. Of course, they asked him to stay. They apologized, asked him to stay, but not out of anger, but just out of necessity. He said he couldn't. He had other work to do because he had other people to help and train and so forth. So he left the monastery. He left the university, but not before delivering this amazing text, which is still 13 centuries later. We are studying this text, and it is considered even by people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He swears, doesn't swear, but he regards this text as highly important for his own generation of compassion and so forth. He says, for that he has relied on this text and the teachings he has received on this text. Yeah. So it's a very extraordinary work and deserves a lot of attention and reading and rereading. So anyway, we're on chapter 5, verse 55. Let's look at again where he's talking about how can engage in positive, generating virtuous dharma. And then, as he said earlier, from verses 83, he'll be talking more specifically about benefiting others. Of course, all of these verses are directly or indirectly connected with benefiting others, because that's the purpose of this work. It's not a work of just, self-improvement or something like that. It is partly that, but it's not the main point. The main point is to improve oneself, if you like to use that language, in order to benefit others, in order to be of greater benefit for others who are suffering, who want happiness just like us, and who have been helping us since beginningless time. So many reasons to benefit others. Also, it makes us happy, actually. To benefit others has this side effect of making us feel satisfied and happy, even if we don't want to be. Genuinely helping others will make us happy. We may not agree with this, but then we have to check it out, right? Before thinking it's wrong, we also should check. So being very resolute and faithful, verse 55, steady, respectful, polite, with a sense of shame, apprehensive, and peaceful, I should strive to make others happy. So again, let's just go through all those words. Resolute means, having someone having determination. We cannot be half-hearted. We have to be very confident to engage in authentic spiritual practice. This is not for those who are weak-hearted and kind of irresponsible, who are totally distracted and cannot stick with it. We have to be resolute. We have to have some faith in the teachings, faith in our own goodness, actually, also. our capacity to wake up. Also our ability to wake up. Capacity and ability, not exactly the same thing. We may have the capacity to, for example, go out and go shopping, for example, to take a very mundane example. But if we don't have the energy, if we're too lazy, or if we are sick, then that potential cannot be actualized. We don't have the ability. We have the capacity, but not the ability. According to Lord Buddha, we all have the capacity to become enlightened, to become a Buddha, just like Shakyamuni Buddha or any other Buddha. But we may not have totally the ability right now because of various factors like laziness, and lack of belief in oneself or whatever, or just not have the circumstances, be living in a country where we don't have access to these teachings and so forth. So anyway, to have faith, it means to have trust in the teachings, trust in oneself, trust in one's teacher, if one has a teacher, to have great faith. Steady, again, carrying on in a steady way, not practice which, often we feel very enthusiastic one day and then we forget the practice for the next week or month. Then again, we remember, oh yes, and we start getting enthusiastic again. So how will that work? You can't even boil water if we have that approach. You can't put the water on the fire, then take it off, then put it on, then take it off, for long periods. You won't even get a boiled water there. Everything needs some steadiness of mind, steadiness of action. So steady, respectful, well, that speaks for itself, but how many people do we know who are really respectful to each other, to other people, respectful to people who are younger, respectful to older, they may be respectful to elders, but are they respectful to younger people? Are they respectful to their servants, to the sweeper, to the kudewala, to the jamadarni? Are they respectful, or do they just treat them as though they're like almost like dogs? Often we are like that. We speak to people in a very unpleasant way if we think they are inferior to us or doing dirty jobs, what we consider dirty jobs. We're not respectful, are we? And even our respect for influential or rich or powerful people, it's not real respect. We just want something from them, or it's not genuine respect, heartfelt respect. Polite, again, connected with that. Are we polite? Are we, tamiz hai hum logon mein ya nahi? Or are we just, we don't care how we speak to other people, how we look at other people. We are just very, careless there, how we interact with others. Sense of shame has a specific purpose here, specific meaning. It means we should be shameful. We should feel shame when we are engaging or about to engage in any unwholesome, inappropriate action of body or speech or even thought. We should feel, hold on, this is not right. This is not appropriate. This is not useful. This is actually going to disturb my mind. So I should not do this. I should not think like this. I should not speak like this, whatever. So we should have a sense of shame when we're about to engage in unwholesome actions of what we call body, speech, and mind. And we should be apprehensive. Apprehensive of what? Of the police? Well, maybe if we're really doing something very bad, we can be apprehensive of being arrested. But here the main purpose is to be apprehensive because we know that law of cause and effect is definite. So if we create negative actions, we will have negative results at some point. If we create killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, idle gossip, have a angry, hurtful sort of harmful state of mind. If we have a covetous, lustful, attached kind of mind, or if we have a mind full of wrong views, these 10 non-virtuous actions, if we engage in them, we're going to get suffering results. plus the terrible result of being having a habit pattern, a habit of doing them again and again, which again creates vicious circle of pain and suffering. So in other words, we are perpetually creating causes for suffering with our ordinary deluded mind. So this is what we should be apprehensive of. We should be very afraid. If we want to be afraid of anything, I think Shantideva is saying, don't fear the law, don't fear God or Buddha, don't fear your parents, don't fear anybody in government. Fear your own negative actions of body, speech, and mind, because they're going to give us very, very fearful results beyond what we can imagine right now. And not just in this life, but in future lives. So this is long-term suffering we are creating the cause for again and again on a daily basis. This is what Shantideva is saying we should be apprehensive about. We should be peaceful, steady, peaceful mind, हम लोग बहुत high मचाते हैं. We make a big deal of so many things and we have very unpeaceful mind. We should learn to relax more and be more peaceful. This is very good for our body, for our BP, for everything, even for digestion, and it helps other people. Who wants to be around people who are constantly stressed out, angry, shouting, miserable? This is not useful for anybody. So peaceful. So in all these ways, if we're doing all these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words are mentioned in my translation, the bachelor one in verse 55. So if we engage in all these 8, then for sure we'll have more chance to make others happy, because that's the last line of that verse. I should strive to make others happy. And naturally we'll be much happier, won't we, if we have these states of mind. If you look at the opposite of these states of mind, irresolute, unfaithful, not trusting, unsteady, disrespectful, impolite, no sense of shame, no sense of apprehension, unpeaceful, you think we're going to be happy or be able to make others happy? No way, no way. We may then write, some tunes or songs or write poems that some people find interesting, but they won't have the power to make people really happy, calm, and wise, Of course, as we know, a lot of genius in literature, music, and so forth has as its cause a lot of suffering in the mind of the musician or the author or the person. That's what makes them write or make music and then kill themselves with too much alcohol later. But and of course, some of this is very, very, what should we say, considered very wonderful music and very appealing. But in the end, how much does it benefit others? So this kind of mind, which is also peaceful, will help make us and others happy. Next verse is very important, such an important verse, for a lifetime's practice of dealing with difficult situations and people, especially people. I should not be disheartened by all the whims of the childish who are in discord with one another. So in ordinary English, I should not be disheartened by all the strange actions, of childish people who are always in conflict with each other, fighting each other, competing with each other. I should understand that these are arising in their minds due to their disturbing conceptions. क्लेश के वजह से ये उत्पन्न हो रहा है उन लोगों के दिमाग में. It's happening because of the disturbing emotions, the klesh, the delusions, afflictive emotions of ignorance, anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, and so forth. These are erupting all the time in our minds. So it's a kind of madness, really. It's a kind of insanity. So since we know this is happening, how do we know? Through our study of the Dharma, through investigating, and through watching our own minds also. We see how these things are coming up again and again. Confusion is coming up, ignorance, anger, irritation, jealousy, pride, attachment, all these are coming up every day, right? It's not like something just happens to other people. It's happening to me, to you. So we should know that, especially with people who are behaving very badly, let's say, it is because they are the temporary slaves of their negative emotions. They also have Buddha nature. They also have potential capacity for goodness. They also want to be happy. So why are they behaving like insane people? It's like asking, okay, why are people sitting in the doctor's waiting room? Why are they sick? They don't want to be sick. They want to be healthy and happy. Why are they in the doctor's waiting room? Well, many causes and conditions for sickness, right? They're temporarily under the control of their sickness. Of course, some people are just there because they're paranoid and they like going to the doctor and, having someone talk to them. Maybe some lonely, unhappy people also go to doctors for no very good reason. But let's say people are really sick. They go to the doctor, because causes and conditions have made them sick temporarily, and the doctor can help them take the medicine that makes them better. The doctor certainly doesn't get angry with them because they're sick. Actually, the doctor survives because they're sick. He needs sick people. To survive as a doctor, he needs sick people. So we might say the Bodhisattva, those of us in training, we need people who disturb us, don't we? Otherwise, how can we develop our patient, muscles of patience and kindness if everyone is always being nice to us? If we're surrounded by good people all the time, then we don't have any work to do on our minds. Everything is taken care of. Better than what they call the silver spoon in your mouth. Is to have people around you always helping you, being generous to you. When you're sick, they're caring for you. They never say anything nasty to you. Well, I mean, that's nothing will then happen in terms of our spiritual development if people are like that all the time. We won't be able to develop patience and a sense of inner strength, I don't think. So anyway, we should be kind to such people. Verse 56. Then we also looked at verse 57, but good to look at again. In doing that, which by nature is not unwholesome, both for the sake of myself and other sentient beings, I should always hold my mind fast, acting like an apparition with no sense of self. Could you read the other translation? Somebody? Oh, hold on, I might have it here. Yeah. When doing virtuous actions beyond reproach to help ourselves or for the sake of others, let us always bear in mind the thought that we are selfless, like an apparition, like a phantom, like a rainbow, like an illusion, like a magician's illusion. This is very powerful. This has got the hint. This has got the hint here of actually what is going to be the factor that totally destroys the root of our suffering. What destroys the root of our suffering is wisdom. What is wisdom in Buddhism? It's not just about knowing how to behave, not just knowing the law of karma, which is so important to know, but the deepest wisdom is knowing how we exist and how we don't exist. So according to Buddhism, there is no permanent, solid, inherently existing self inside of me or you. Everything is dependently related with something else, is relational, is impermanent, is without any abiding, intrinsic, inherent, solid kind of being. Everything is not like that. Like a dream, like an apparition, like a bubble, like a phantom, like a mist, something like that. So I should engage in wholesome actions, but always recognizing that I myself, and of course others too, are like an apparition. This way we don't get attached. We know that by offering a thirsty person a glass of water, how it works, it makes them lose their thirst and be happy, but if we hold on to these things very tightly as very real and solid, then we get attached to things and people and our actions. And then, of course, we would get very disturbed if people don't behave in the way we like. We would get disturbed if people don't thank us for our good actions. And we would feel a little proud at our good actions. They would make us hold on to a sense of self more and more. So the Buddha said there is actually nothing to be grasped at, nothing we can hold on to and say, this is me. This is me, some kind of solid me. Any kind, of solid me is an apparition, is an illusion, like a dream. There's much more to say about this. Shantideva goes into it in great detail in the 9th chapter of this book, and also a little bit in chapter 8. Meanwhile, you can read up basic teachings on wisdom. Then verse 58, by thinking again and again that after a long time I have won this greatest leisure, likewise, I should hold my mind as utterly unshakable as the king of mountains. This supreme treasure of a human life, so long awaited, now at last attained. Reflecting always in this way, maintain your mind as steady as Sumeru, the king of mountains. So if we are stable like a mountain, nothing can harm us. No earthquake, no tufan, no storm can harm a very strong mountain, very big, unshakable mountain. So we should think repeatedly, every day we should think, just as we remember death every day, hopefully. We should think how after a long time in samsara, I've won this amazing human life where I can study with not just, charlatans like me, but the great teachers are there, like His Holiness Dalai Lama and many great geshes and others, and Rinpoches, and many people. We've won this opportunity to, with this human life, to be able to do all these things. So we should never forget this and hold our mind very unshakably, so that it is unshakable. And unshakable by what? By the winds of delusion and so forth, and the wrong paths. Yeah, I should hold my mind to the Dharma, as it mentioned earlier. Yeah, one should. What is that lovely verse? I should verse 40. With the utmost effort, I should check to see that the crazed elephant of my mind is not wandering off, but is bound to the great pillar of thinking about Dharma. So that's what we need to be thinking about, this great pillar, like a mountain, thinking about Dharma. This is very difficult, but that is possible, no? It's possible. Question of training. That's what it's about. Verse 59. If mind, he's speaking to himself now, if mind, you are not made unhappy when this body is dragged and tossed about by vultures greedy for flesh, then why are you so concerned about it now? So at some point, we I need some commentary on this. When vultures with their love of flesh are tugging at this body all around, small will be the joy you get from it, O mind. Yeah, I think this is a better translation. Why are you so besotted with it now? We're very attached to this body. It prevents us from engaging in virtuous actions. When we die, and in Tibet, bodies were taken to the top of mountains, chopped up, mixed with barley flour, and offered to the vultures. So at that time, when the vultures are grabbing at the body, hundreds of them. There's an amazing video of what they call a mountain, mountain cremation or whatever. When the body is chopped up, all these hundreds of vultures are coming, and like a swarm of vultures coming and fighting with each other to get at these chopped up bits of somebody's body. So at that time, we're not going to feel any attachment to our body, right? We won't get any joy from our body at that point. That's the destination of our body. Whether it's that or whether it's the electric crematorium or the funeral pyre, that is the destination of this body, of yours and mine. It will happen sooner or later. So why, he's saying, Shantideva is asking us, why are you so besotted? Why are you so obsessed and attached with your body now? Obsessing about our body makes us so self-absorbed that we cannot see beyond our own needs. It's from Pema Chodron's commentary in her book. No matter how much time and energy we put into caring for our bodies, we cannot stop the process of dying. We might try to slow it down by eating well, exercising, but death can come without warning. You see, however much we exercise or have all the latest gadgets and all the best body moisturizers and shampoos in our bathrooms, if we aren't careful, we can be killed by a passing car or truck. That's not going to make any difference what kind of organic or inorganic food we have been eating. We can die anytime due to many causes and conditions. Many. Maybe something in our genetics predisposes us to heart condition or BP or whatever, and if we don't take care, and then we die. Or we can be killed, or there can be a natural disaster, or there can be a petrol tank explodes not far from us, whatever. Or very unfortunate, you could die, as in dowry death, where the woman is killed because family did not provide enough dowry at the marriage. So there are many ways to die, right? So then all that effort we put into the body, all the effort the mother put into her daughter's body and hair and everything when she was young and everything, then it's just gone in a moment, because the greed of the family that they married their daughter into. Whatever. There are many ways of looking at this. The real question is this, says Pema Chodron: since our time is limited, how do we want to spend it? So in one way, if we are really film buffs, then I say, oh, the doctor told me that I have cancer, I'm going to die in 3 months. Okay, I'm going to watch as many movies as I can, I'm going to watch all the movies I couldn't watch. I'm going to look up on Google the 100 best movies of the 20th century, and I'm going to watch as many of them as I can and consult with my friends, what are the best movies? I'm going to go and watch them, and then what are the best restaurants? I'm going to try and persuade my rich friends to take me to many of these restaurants before I die. What are we going to do with our life? And of course, we don't know whether it's 3 months or 3 years or 30 years. We have no idea when we're going to die. So the teachings on death advise us to start our practice today, not even tomorrow. Start today, tonight, today, or now. That's one message from chapter 59, from verse 59. 60. Holding this body as mine. Why mine do you guard it so? Since you and it are separate, what use can it be to you? My body. My body. Why would COVID be a problem for anyone if we didn't have this strong holding on to my body? Of course, we could still take precautions and do, but why all this fear? Why the fanaticism? Why everything? Because my body, my life, my body will be at risk. You know, this very strong holding on to I, mine, or it's my, children fighting over pencils in classroom, countries fighting over land, bits of land, mine. No, it's mine. There's no end to this. Soon it will be, like in science fiction, galactic wars. Oh, this planet is mine, says the emperor of the solar system, No, another galactic emperor says, no, it's mine now, Some guy who's come from God knows how far away in their warships to attack Earth or whatever Earth is called then. Everything comes down to my this, my that, my problem, my idea. This is my idea, not it was my idea, not your idea. Everything. Anyway, here we're talking about body. Why mind? Why, oh mind, you guard your body so? Since you and it are separate, what use can it be for you? He's arguing with himself. He's debating with himself. Why are you so attached to your body? What use is it? It's not you. Your body is not you. You're separate. This awareness we have, it's separate from our body, and it will separate from the body. At the time of death, it will go off into future life, future experience. It is not the same as the body. When you die, you leave your body behind. You might ask, if my body is me, how could this possibly be? The answer is that you and it are each a separate entity. Therefore, regard the body as a short-term rental. Take care of it, keep it clean, but not to the point of absurdity. Treat your body with respect, but not with a sense of ownership. Of course, you have to be intelligent. Well, actually, the Bodhisattva regards their body, the true Bodhisattva regards their body as something that is owned by others, actually. They're willing to use their body for others, to be a slave for others, to help others, who are suffering. So for the Bodhisattva, their body is certainly not theirs. They regard it as something for the use of other people. Yeah, this was made very clear in an earlier chapter. Do you remember? This was made very clear in chapter 3, I believe, where he's talking about full acceptance of the awakening mind. Chapter 3, verse 13. Yeah. Having given this body up for the pleasure of all living beings, by killing, abusing, and beating it, may they always do as they please. Although they may play with my body and make it a source of jokes and reproach, because I've given it up to them, what is the use of holding it dear? Therefore, I shall let them do anything to it that does not cause them any harm. Earlier, he had said in verse 11, without any sense of loss, I shall give up my body and enjoyments, as well as my virtues of the 3 times, for the sake of benefiting everybody. Wow. So you see, he's always, Shantideva has always already hinted at this. Not hinted, made it very clear that he doesn't regard the body as his. It's something that is given on loan, which he is using to benefit others. It's like a kind guest house owner who has a good guest house, which he makes very nice, because he really wants to give people a good experience in his guest house. He makes it available for others. It's his in one way, under the law, it's his. He has the property rights to it. He pays property tax for it, but he uses it for the sake of others. And then Shantideva really becomes a little bit, really he's like up to now he has been, kind of half scolding. Now he really puts the boot in, as we say in English. He starts, he really starts getting, he kicks us. It's like, ab to pura jhatka dete hain wo. Abhi to he's just warming up. Now the next verse, Shantideva really gets to task. Why not cling, O foolish mind, to something clean, a figure carved in wood, or some such thing? Why do you protect and guard an unclean engine for the making of impurity? Good grief. The other translation is, why, confused mind, do you not hold on to a clean wooden form? What's the point of guarding this putrid, dirt-filled machine? You may say, what? Come on, hold on, But we can check. Go to a good restaurant, have a lot of lovely, tasty food and a good dessert afterwards, and then, smell what comes out in the morning in the toilet. Why, if this body is so wonderful, why is everything nice and tasty we put in turn into something disgusting? Of course, you can say it's very good. Of course, it is good that the body transforms our food into blood and flesh, and what is not needed is passed out. But still, it's obviously not an abode of absolute cleanliness, is it, this body? It's a marvelous machine, of course. It's incredible, but it's not pure in the sense of, we wouldn't want to get on, we might be very attached to our own and somebody else's body, but we wouldn't, I don't think, want to peel off the skin and start smelling what's inside. We wouldn't want to lick and kiss what's under the skin. I mean, maybe some of you have done this, but then, maybe you need psychological treatment. Yeah, most people would not unless they're cannibals. Hopefully none of us here are cannibals who enjoy, fresh human meat. Anyway, the point being made is, why are we holding on to this? Instead of, why aren't we more attached to something clean, like a lovely plastic chair or a wooden chair, a well-designed wooden chair? Why don't we hold on to that? Why are we guarding this disgusting, dirt-filled machine? The other nice statement made here, an unclean engine for the making of impurity. What does, we'll stop here after I've read Pema Chodron's commentary and then just have a discussion. She says of this verse, here Shantideva is emphasizing the impurity of the human body. It's a very efficient engine for creating shit, piss, blood, and gore. Gore is what you see in the violent movies, yeah, when someone is shot and stuff and all this gore comes out. When it's not cleaned, it reeks, it stinks, its breath smells bad. Why be so attached to this? Why not be attached to something fresh and clean, like a figure carved in wood? Or even, your wonderful bathroom or kitchen floor, which has been scrubbed with water and Lysol, by your good cleaning lady, Even that is cleaner than our body. This was a standard meditation during Shantideva's time. It is still used in some Buddhist countries, but it's difficult one for many Westerners and us Westernized Indians. Too often, we already view our physical bodies with distaste. For this reason, Trungpa Rinpoche, who was Pema Chodron's teacher, great teacher, once said that he didn't think this traditional meditation on the impurity of the body worked very well in the West. But Shantideva's intention is not to fill us with self-loathing, it's not to fill us with self-hatred, but it's to free us from obsession. Yeah, good point. We're not being asked to hate our bodies. How can we hate our bodies? This is our vehicle. Our bodies are extraordinary things without which, we cannot study the Dharma, for one. But the point is, we overemphasize, we obsess, we create a lot of harm by being attached to our own and other people's bodies. So that's what's being spoken of here. Okay, it's 7:40 already. Let's have some discussion. Open it up for discussion. Ji, anybody? Bon bole. Yeah. Anyone here? You're looking very serious. So. Very worried and serious. There's a new person at Tushita, so he didn't know what he was letting himself in for. Um, Everyone on the screen looks happy, so they must be old, seasoned students. Nothing is a surprise for them. We have all integrated Shantideva into our daily lives. We have cut down on the cosmetics in our bathrooms. We have only 1 or 2 conditioners, only 2 or 3 shampoos. Yeah, I get amazed when I go into people's bathrooms. I tell you, so amazed. My own bathroom seems like empty compared to other people's. I mean, of course, I don't need shampoo, but one kind of soap I use, one kind of soap for washing, one Dettol soap for after having done number 2, big job. And then I have one kind of toothpaste. I have 2 or 3 toothbrushes, and then a tongue cleaner, and that's about it, really. What else do you need? Yes, some moisturizer. Sometimes the hands get very dry. I get very dry skin. But bas, aur kya chahiye? What else do you need for this body? Of course, I put a lot of things in my mouth during the day. That's true. I eat a lot, but in terms of the bathroom scenario, it's pretty simple. And of course, some people even simpler than that. But when I go into some friends' houses, they have, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 items in the bathroom for sure. Especially if it's a couple, then they have, the stuff for the male grooming, and then for the ladies grooming. It's quite a lot of stuff to keep this body looking. And often a lot of it is focused on the face, right? So you're focusing on keeping our faces attractive, which of course is a nice thing to do. We don't want to look like, I don't know, what do we don't want to look like? Can you think of someone? We don't want to look like Dracula or Frankenstein when we're on our Zoom sessions, that's for sure. We want to look decent, but there's a limit, no, to what we spend and the time we spend on our bodies, since this body is going to look like nothing we want to look at, when it dies. The vultures or the worms or whatever, or even the flame starts licking at it, we don't want to look at the body anymore, I mean, the relatives don't want to look at the body anymore, which is understandable. So this is what Shantideva is trying to, and again, remember, originally these teachings were given to monks who are supposed to pay very powerful attention to the state of their minds and keep it under control, and not allow especially attachment to get hold of their minds. The main danger for monks and nuns is attachment, not anger necessarily. Attachment is the underlying factor in this desire realm that we are in. It's called the desire realm, technically. Desire realm, formless realm. Division into 3 realms also, apart from the other 6 ways of dividing, but also all those 6 realms that we talk about, most of them are in the desire realm. The demigod and God realms can be in the form and formless realms, but most of us are in the desire realm, which means attachment is the predominant factor. And why do we get angry is also because of attachment, isn't it? Because what we want is being obstructed by somebody or something. Then we get angry when we don't get what we want. So again, it's linked with wanting, attachment, obsession. To the extent that we go to our favorite restaurant and the food is not cooked exactly the way we want it, then we get angry because of attachment to what we wanted. Then we get angry. If there wasn't attachment, if we're quite open, kind of relaxed about what was going to be served to us, then the anger would not arise, right? Because we are attached. We're attached to the restaurant. We're attached to the fact that we are taking our friends to this expensive restaurant, and we're attached to our money. So we attach to how we want the food, and when it's not the way we want, we get angry. So it's all due to attachment. Most of our anger, can you think of any anger that is not connected with attachment? I'm trying to think. Can anyone think of something right now? Any anger that's not connected in some way with attachment? Sagar bhai? Sorry, I forgot your name.
Prajanya.
Huh?
Prajanya.
Prajanya. Prajanya. Wow, Prajanya and
Anil.
Anil. Anil. Can you think of anything? Anger that is not connected with some kind of attachment, the way I've explained? Ashwin? Nerve? Maybe it doesn't exist. Chirag bhai? No. Oscar Wilde? No. You see, I think my theory is correct. Everything is connected with attachment. You know? I expect water to be a few degrees warmer and it's not, then I get annoyed. It's all attachment, expectation, hope. All these things are devastating to our happiness and the happiness of others, because we just create so many problems for others by getting angry. I mean, we even kill people, right? We kill people out of anger, not out of love, usually. So yeah, it's a big problem. Attachment is the big number one problem. Although anger seems to be, because it's more out there in front and nasty, but underlying cause is attachment. Why did Putin invade Ukraine? And I'm not on anyone's side here, by the way. I think the West also has a lot to blame for this whole thing. But why did Putin invade Ukraine? Because of attachment to his idea of what Russia should be, his attachment to the security of his country, my country, I am the leader. Due to many factors like that, he felt threatened. You know, he felt, I am threatened, my country is threatened. You know, attachment to the country, to the security, etc. So then this horrible war, which is now, I think, 230 plus days. You know, that's a lot of days. It's a lot of killing, a lot of destruction, and still not over. No sign of it being over. Why? Because one big reason, friends, is because arms manufacturers are attached to their profits. And a lot of people are, I'm sure, making money on the side, percentages from the what the arms manufacturers are making, politicians, so forth, or getting, you know, services for encouraging the arms industry, not encouraging an end to the war. So greed has a lot to do with it. So, you know, on both sides, not just the Western side, the other side as well. So, you know, it's attachment, greed. And of course, all under the umbrella of ignorance, because people are not aware of the consequences of their actions, the long-term ones. Putin thinks if he, you know, makes Ukraine surrender, then he'll be happy, Russia will be okay. But the consequences for him and many people of having caused so many deaths is horrendous. The karmic consequence is horrendous in future lives. And similarly, a lot of things happening from the Western side, the negative karma there. Just the negative karma involved in creating weapons of destruction. It's a dreadful karma, dreadful. One of the wrong livelihoods mentioned in Buddhism. I mean, it's a wrong livelihood. It's not right livelihood, as mentioned in the Eightfold Path. Totally wrong livelihood, which creates only suffering, and it's a negative karma, which creates suffering for the people, anyone involved in it. even the workers who are in the factories making the armaments, even though they don't necessarily want to, there is some karmic taint for them too, being part of that whole process. And of course, the main karmas are the people who are in charge, happily making the money out of these weapons of destruction. Yeah. So it all comes down to attachment. Sorry, I'm talking. It's supposed to be a discussion. I'm attached to talking. Anil, anything? This is your first session where you any response?
Just contemplating.
Anil, a new person, is contemplating what we have discussed. That's good. Pradeep ji, you look ready.
No, Kabir ji, Oscar Wilde.
Sorry, you sound like an ill-tuned guitar. Could you say it again? You might need to turn off your video to preserve bandwidth. That was not clear what you said. Ha, boliye.
Oscar Wilde has her hand up.
Oh, Oscar Wilde has a hand up. Is that what you wanted to say? Okay, Oscar Wilde and then Ashwin. Hanji.
I was just wondering about the reverse thing, like for instance, detachment. So do you think like a certain degree of detachment is necessary for happiness and peace of mind? For instance, in my mother's case, she's deeply attached to both of us, both me and my brother, and obviously like my uncle who was sick recently. So you can't control the karma of other people, right? And whatever they have to undergo as a result, as a consequence of their actions and karma, they will have to undergo. You can't do anything about it. But if you're excessively attached, anything in excess is harmful, and especially attachment, because then you worry yourself, you worry yourself to death about things which are not even under your control. So I keep telling her, I was in fact telling her this today. And the other thing is that I was wondering, so is that true, like a certain degree of detachment is necessary for true happiness and peace of mind?
You answer the question immediately from your
I
wisdom.
answered.
You
No,
answered
I answered it, right?
Did you?
I don't know.
You should have more trust in yourself.
And I was just wondering that what is the difference between detachment and renunciation? Because I have this gut feeling that renunciation is the understanding that nothing in this world, in no corner of this world, anything can give you the true happiness which you have been seeking for since like the beginningless time.
Yes,
So is that
right.
that renunciation?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, pretty good definition, I'd say. Yes. Yes,
And
nothing attracts you anymore. You realize everything is a passing show, cannot give lasting satisfaction. So detachment is simply one of the weapons, you could say, in an intelligent person's arsenal, which will help to develop renunciation. Yeah, we need some detachment.
yeah,
But
so they are the same, right?
But with the Bodhisattva, they need detachment, but also within the ambit of compassion, within the umbrella of compassion. But of course, the Bodhisattva also has to be detached from attachment, for example. Yeah, good. Ashwin?
Kabirji, I was a little confused by verse 60. So one thing is when we're talking about the mind and the body being separate, I don't know, that word separate made me sort of see things in a duality, and I'm just wondering what is the view on dualistic thinking here?
Well, it's everything is dualistic up to a point, but are you the same as your body? When we say Ashwin got 90% in the exam, do we mean the body got 90% or did Ashwin get 90%? If the body got it, just as Ashwin got it, then they're the same, but we wouldn't say that, would we? We wouldn't say your body got 90%. Ashwin's body got 90% in the exam. That's a meaningless statement. Yeah, Ashwin's hand or whatever wrote the answers. But again, is Ashwin and Ashwin's hand the same? This is something to be reflected on. This is the point where we need to reflect. Are you the same as your body? You, whoever you think you are you your body? If you are, then you are not your mind. Unless the mind and the body are just one and the same thing. But then if they are, why do we have two separate words? We don't need to say mind and body then. We could just say body or just say mind. And then when we said mind, we would mean mind and body. And when we said body, we would mean mind and body. But that's nonsense, isn't it? Aren't they separate? Isn't it obvious they're separate?
Yeah, Kabiji, it's obvious. But we were talking about the 5 skandhas the other day and how form is the body, I guess. And then there are the
rest
4
are mental, yes.
mental. So I'm just wondering if then we are saying that we are the mind, are we the other 4 skandhas? And aren't those also empty in a way?
We are, the person is composed of 5 skandhas at the moment, you and I. Us ordinary humans are composed of 5 skandhas, yeah? Form, feeling, perceptions, other factors like compassion or hatred or memory, all these things come in the 4th. The remaining mental factors are in the 4th. And then the consciousnesses, eye, ear, nose, tongue consciousness are in the 5th skandha of consciousness, as well as the overall mental consciousness. So that's a person. That's what a person is. But are you, when you say I, when you think of I, are you the same as your body? We were not talking of the person as such, but when you say I, as in mine, it's obvious when we say mine or my body, that we are regarding ourselves as separate from our body. Otherwise, why would we call it mine? When I say my book, I'm not the same as this book. It's my book. It belongs to me. It's obviously something separate to me. There's that way of looking at it as well. Anyway, investigate whether you think you're the same as your body and try and find some absurd consequences that would result if you think you're the same as your body. Or if you think you're just the same as your mind. You know, what is your mind actually? So these has to be analyzed. I'm sure he'll do some analysis like this on Geshe-la's retreat, because he won't just be talking about Bodhichitta. I'm sure he will bring in the wisdom aspect a lot. So you'll get some good practice there. But before you enter that retreat, you could think about these things. Very good question you have raised. It's a very, very pivotal question. Anything else? Anybody? Ajir ji Behan, Niyamika Kumari. I don't think I know.
Isn't Shantideva is attaching to this philosophy means he's attaching to this philosophy, Bodhisattva philosophy. So it is also an attachment.
Our new Hill is saying that isn't Shantideva also attached to this Bodhisattva philosophy? So here we have to give a definition of attachment so that we understand. And maybe I should have given it before again. So attachment, and somebody's got a lot of background sound, so I'll just, someone is maybe gone out to buy pan or something. सड़क में कोई गया है क्या? Okay, I'm muting you all online at the moment, so we don't get background sounds. Attachment is defined as a mistaken mind that exaggerates the likability or the beauty, of a particular object or situation or person. Okay, so it exaggerates the attractiveness of some object, person, or situation, and thinking that it will bring happiness, wants to possess it. That's the definition, one definition of attachment. So is Shantideva attached to the Bodhisattva way of life? We could say that an ordinary person like us would be attached. There would be some attachment there. But because the object is a very beneficial one, it is better to be attached to such objects than to other objects. That's one way of looking at it. But yes, there is some attachment involved, in that there is a sense that the mind that is being attached, that is observing or that is considering the Bodhisattva path, in my case, for example, is a mind that is still caught up in ignorance. So there's that sense of a very solid, kind of a solid, independent, inherent kind of path that I'm attaching to on the basis of a solid sense of me and mine. So then that is mistaken. Luckily, the object is a good one, so it would have a good result ultimately. But of course, what we're aiming for is no attachment at all towards anything. So I believe Shantideva was at the level where he was not attached to anything. His practice of the Bodhisattva path was something very spontaneous. We cannot speak of attachment towards it in the ordinary way, like a mistaken mind exaggerating the attractive qualities and wanting to possess it. No, he knew exactly what the Bodhisattva path was, where it leads to, and so he was not exaggerating, there was no exaggeration involved. And in fact, for someone like him, there was no sense of any I, me, mine being involved in the equation. He just is a spontaneous being who just does what needs to be done to benefit others. So he knows that he's a person. He knows, how to eat and drink and so forth. He hasn't lost all sense of personality in some kind of foolish way, but he's not attached in any way to I, me, mine. And so therefore, there's no question of being attached to his, as you put it, philosophy of the Bodhisattva. So he's not attached. But if I look at my understanding of the Bodhisattva path, yes, at the moment I am the victim of some attachment because I don't yet have the wisdom that sees things like a dream, like an apparition, like, not having any substantial inherent nature. Yeah, that gets into difficult terrain because you have to then again study what we mean by wisdom, what we mean by ignorance. What do Buddhists mean by ignorance? It's holding on to some inherent real me. Because Shantideva was saying that we're an apparition. The I is an apparition, like an illusion. Yeah, that's what he said in verse 57. I should always hold my mind fast, acting like an apparition with no sense of self. It's there in a lot of religions that we're engaging in a kind of act. Human beings are on a stage. We are like actors. There's nothing you can hold on to. The roles are changing. It's impermanent. It'll come to an end. It's like a dream. And so no need to get too fussed about it. No need to get too caught up in it. It's just like a dream. It's like a play. It has a beginning, the play comes to an end. The actors go home, and engage in other roles, whatever. So it's something to think about. And don't worry if you don't understand it yet, because Buddha said all of his teachings are aimed at slowly guiding the student towards understanding of what is reality, what is the I, what is the nature of the I, or any phenomena whatsoever, table, chair, computer, anything. What is the real nature? Because it appears a certain way. Objects appear a certain way, right? Everything in the world appears a certain way, including who we think we are, appears a certain way to us. Buddha said that we have to check that very carefully because appearance is not the same as the deeper reality, the ultimate reality of things. We see things in a very solid, unrelational way, whereas things are interdependent actually, and relational, can only exist in relationship with other things. Everything, even big and small, long and short, they all depend on something to be, to have something short, it depends on something longer. But, if we say, oh, he's 7 feet tall, he's very tall, but then, if you have a 50-story building, then what is his height? It's nothing. So everything is relational. Nothing is inherently this or that. Even the sense of being inherently a man or a woman is kind of false. Because we know first that we could have a sex change operation, and then we are no longer a man. We could become a woman could become a man. So if we were inherently men or women, then there would be no such thing, possibility, as a sex change operation. But because we are not inherently something, in other words, we can be acted upon by causes and conditions, in this case, a surgeon and an operation, we could become something else, which we couldn't if we were inherently something. Because inherent means unchangeable, is this, just like that. It cannot change. So we can change. We're not inherently angry or inherently upset because we know it changes. We're not inherently bad. We're not inherently good in that sense. Although in one way we are intrinsically good in one way, according to Buddhism. We have Buddha nature, but even Buddha nature is not something solid or inherent in that sense. So yeah, food for thought. We'll continue on Sunday morning with something, 11 a.m. Sunday. Excuse me. I've come to my yawning time, which you're familiar with from the Zoom days of COVID. I always start yawning at 7:30 even. I'm yawning after 8, so this is an improvement. Good, so thank you all very much for being with us and helping us to have a meaningful evening. We dedicate for the happiness and welfare of all beings to be free of their misery, and for us to be beneficial for others as much as possible, not to be separated from authentic teachers, teachings, and our life to become more and more meaningful for other people. May all the respected, holy, authentic teachers have long and healthy lives, and may their wishes be fulfilled. Thank you. Good night. Yeah, yeah.